Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another Wednesday night. I'm out in the garage doing my Wednesday night check-in to make sure that I know where I'm at and what parts I have on hand, what parts I might need, what's going on and whatnot, so that when the weekend rolls around, I'm all ready to go. So as you'll recall, if you've been following along, and if you haven't, you need to hit the subscribe button down there. But if you've been following along, you know that last weekend we did the last of the frame painting. So I've basically had everything kind of sitting out here in the garage, just drying and curing and all that kind of stuff, and everything looks pretty good. So I mentioned last week that I was worried about bushings and so forth, so I did a little digging, and what happened is I had ordered all red energy suspension bushings, a kit that does the whole Jeep, and from Morris 4x4, and when I reached out to them, they said, that was canceled. The manufacturer back ordered or whatever, so it got canceled off your order. So they sent the refund over, and I said, well, all right, I'll just figure out another way to get those. So I did go directly to the guys at Energy Suspension, and they don't have any red either. They have black in stock. So I just bought my bushing kits from them, and it's going to be black, not red, which is a little bit of a bummer because I kind of like the way the red looks, and I thought it would look good against the popping black frame. But anyway, those are coming, so they're shipped, and hopefully they'll get here by the weekend. I don't know if they will or not, but I think the next order of business is really to start looking at this gas tank, make sure I'm prepared to hang that thing up there, and then that I'll want to do before I get the leaf springs back in and the differentials underneath there. And then the next step after that will be to start looking at gas lines and brake lines. And we'll get into that front differential over there and get the tie rods off and that front tie rod arm and start looking at that stuff. So I got plenty to do, even if I don't get the bushings in. And I can probably take my stuff that's been painted now and kind of start to bolt some of that up to the frame and so forth, like the cross member and whatnot. I think I'll want that bolted up to the bottom, even though I'm not ready to put the drivetrain back in. So plenty to do, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this gas tank box and pull that out, because I do think I'm going to want to slap a coat of primer on some of the parts that go with that, the spacer. I think the skid plate's already painted, but I think it's time to get that thing out of the box. So come on along, let's go open up a couple things, make sure our plan's on place so that when we hit the weekend, we're all productive and things are cruising along. Okay, well, there it is. Bam! Just no time at all. We got a coat of primer on these parts, and just got my that little ceramic heater there sitting there, kind of blowing on them to dry them off. So nothing for it at this point except to leave them sit for a while, let them dry and get all cured out, and then got to flop them over and do the other side, and then we'll do some black paint on them. But one step at a time. We'll let it dry real nice. So I'll be back when drying time is complete. Well, it's Friday, and I'm baking some parts, so I will explain. So I'm just getting these little pieces warmed up because it's been cold in the garage all day, and I wanted to slap a little coat of paint on them. So I set them over the heater so they'd get nice and warm, and so my paint will dry quickly. So baking parts in the oven, part 1. Here we go. Well, hello there. Have you been waiting long for me to get my butt out here in the garage today? I hope not, but thanks for joining me again. It's a Saturday morning. The frame is completely painted. Let me just say that again. The frame is completely painted. It's time to start bolting stuff together back onto that thing. So that's a cool milestone. What I'm going to do today is I've got the gas tank skid plate spacers sitting right underneath you. I don't think you can see them, but I've painted one side of them. I've primered both sides. I've painted one side. I'm going to flop those over first thing, get the other side painted so those can dry. And then I'm going to hang that gas tank. I've got the skid plate sitting right here, the cross member for the transmission and the skid plate and so forth. I'm going to see about getting that bolted to the bottom of the frame today. I did not get my bushings for the leaf springs. Those are supposed to be here on Monday, so that'll have to wait till next weekend. But since I can't put differentials back under the frame today, once I get the gas tank up there, I believe right over there in the corner, I've got a box that has gas lines and brake lines in it, and I'll start to lay those along the inside of the frame rail. And if I run out of stuff to do there, I've got the front differential sitting over in that corner that I can start pulling the steering knuckles apart on there and put my new ball joints in and get new tie rod ends and so forth on that thing. Have not ordered my tires and rims yet, but might spend a little time on tire rack today getting that rolling. And there we go, that's the plan. So I got my official dirty Jeep working on uniform that I kind of given up on trying to get it clean, so I just keep it and put it back on. It's all dirty, but it's I'm in my official work on the Jeep uniform. So let's work on the Jeep, shall we? All right, well, I'm working on the gas tank here, and I seem to have discovered a little issue. So let me show you what's going on. The plate for the skid plate and its extender, the holes don't seem to be equidistant apart, and so it only fits one way. It either fits this way with the flat side to the inside, or if I flip it over, then I think it would line up the other way. But now you can see with it lined up this way with the bolt holes, I have a 1/2 inch here and I have a 1/2 inch here that's not lining up, which concerns me. I'm afraid when I get it up there on the frame, it's not going to line up. But I have a bigger issue than that, because I can sort that out by re-drilling the center hole. Not too scary. But here's the other issue. So this big strap is the extended strap to go over the taller tank. So it kind of keys into here. goes over the tank and comes down here and bolts in. There's a big long bolt, and I've had that bolt in there with the tank in there, and it all lines up just fine. Problem is, with that there, that piece is now in the way of this piece when I try to put it here to bolt my extender on, no matter which way I do it. So if I do it this way, I would have to notch this. If I do it this way, which is probably what I'll wind up doing, I'll have to notch here to fit around that. So I gotta tell you, it seems like something didn't get thought out too well on this extender for the skid plate thing for this tall tank. So I may have to ponder this a little bit and redo it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt up, just put a couple bolts through my back extender, stick it up to the frame and see how my bolt holes line up to see whether I have to move that front plate, flip it over the other way. But I did want to keep it the way it is now so that I could see the bolts on the back and the front. You know, it would be much easier to get to the bolts there. So I'm trying to make it so that I can get to the bolts easy, and I'm just concerned that my bolt holes in the frame aren't going to line up. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to mock this thing up without the tank in it, without worrying about the strap right now, to make sure I get into the frame straight. Then I'll figure out what to do about the strap at that point. So stay tuned. I'll update you when I sort this out. All right, well, I'm not a Vulcan, but I am a computer technician, and I do have a fair amount of logic in this noggin of mine. So here's what I've done. I just stepped back and I went, okay, let's take all the extenders off. Let's hook the skid plate up by itself to the frame and see how it lines up. So let me walk around here. I can show you what I've done. So I've just stuck 2 bolts through the back here, little ones. And I've stuck 2 bolts through here. So I'm lining up on these bolt holes that were set for the castle bolts, or castle head bolts, I think is what they're called, that go down into the square hole so they can't turn. And that then leaves a little hole here for our strap. So I think that's correct in its placement. The thing that bugs me is it's clearly not centered on the frame. Haven't measured it, but the center of the pan does not seem to be centered in the frame. Now, that might be the case because initially when Jeep rolled these things out, they only had a single exhaust, and I believe that based on that mounting bracket right there, the single exhaust came down this side of the Jeep, exited right back here in the back, which would explain why our tank was slightly offset. So I think that's where it's supposed to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the tank up there and see how my tube lines up roughly with the frame, with it there. Because I think that's about where it's got to go. So now that at least tells me how these plates all have to go back on, and I'll take it from there. Now the weird thing is look how poorly that hole lines up. I don't know if you can see that, but come on, guys. That's supposed to be exactly straight with that hole, isn't it? It's offset about, half the width of a bolt, or not quite that much, but half the width of the bolt. It's off. So I'm gonna, and that's the skid plate. I mean, that's not the adapter. So the skid plate doesn't line up with the frame holes. So that's annoying. I hate the fact that you got to buy this stuff. It's supposed to be, original equipment parts built off the same dies as all the original equipment, and then you still got to get the drill out and modify it so it'll fit. So that's annoying, but I think I've at least figured out what I need to do. So now I'm gonna drop that down, put my extenders back in place, and see what we come up with, and see if I can get this all sorted out. So I'll mock up again with my extenders. As it turns out, those side plates that I had in here, my little side supports, there's one down there on the ground, they're a little too They make it a little too tight to fit the frame again, so I don't know. I'm getting a little frustrated with this thing. And I keep thinking, am I just missing something? Am I doing something just wrong enough that when I get it all right, it'll all be perfect? Or is this just kind of sloppy engineering on the parts of the guys who are selling all this stuff? And this is how Jeep restorations go, is you use a hammer and a drill to fit all your brand new parts onto the thing. So hope that's not it. Hope this is a temporary setback, but I will visit you again when I've mocked this up again and we see how things line up once I get my extenders in there. So I'll do that, I'll come back. All right, well, I have the tank mounted. So if it's right, then great. And if it's wrong, when I get the tub here and it turns out it doesn't work, then you're gonna hear me swearing from where you're at right now. So anyway, here's what it looks like. So this back plate is in the direction that you can work on the bolts. Coming around to the side, I do have my side enclosure, whatever that thing is, you want to call that spreader bar in there. In the back, you can see down in there, those are going to be a B-hatch to get to, but the bottom ones are okay, and that long screw in the middle is where the strap goes. So it's in there. Hopefully it's right. We'll see. All right, well, tank is placed. It's time to break open this box that I got the other day from ClassicTube and start looking at tubing for brake lines and gas lines. So again, I think I showed you this the other day. I have the fuel return line here, and I'm gonna open up that box right there and we're gonna see what's in there. That should be my fuel feed line and my brake line. So let's open those up. I'll bring you along with me and we'll see what's inside the box, shall we? Okay, so I opened up the box from ClassicTube, and before I take everything out, I gotta let you look down in this box. Yeehaw! There's a lot of stuff in there, all swirly and whirly, and yikes. I'm sure it will be fine. It will be fine, he keeps telling himself. But anyway, I'll set you down, we'll take this out of the box. Okay, well, it's Saturday afternoon, and I just I went into a little period of denial here, and I just put all my tubing back in the box over there behind me and put it away for today, because just doing the gas tank just got me a little frustrated and tired of this thing for the minute. So I'm gonna wrap it up, and I might be back tomorrow and do some more stuff, or I might not.